Hey guys, Jishir here, bringing to you a full raid guide for the Ice Dragon Raid Izcorgiky. This raid is the first raid you unlock, and there are 3 difficulties in total. Normal and Hard mode unlocks when raids unlock, and Nightmare mode unlocks 4 weeks later. I'll be going through the mechanics of the raid, and my recommended strategies to clear them comfortably. If you enjoyed this video and or find it useful, do hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell to get notified about future videos like these. I also stream on Twitch regularly, so follow to catch me live and ask any questions you might have about the game. Now without further ado, let's get right into the video. The written version of this guide is on Maxroll, link in the description, so do check it out and you can refer to it in the future if there are any changes made to the builds. I will update the guides very quickly to provide you guys up-to-date information, and I also welcome any suggestions to improve the builds or readability of it, so feel free to DM me on Discord. The whole raid revolves around 2 mechanics, Touch of Frost and Harsh Weather. Touch of Frost is a passively stacking mechanic similar to Void Corruption in Dark Mist Fortress. When the raid begins, a bar appears above your head. This bar slowly fills up with Touch of Frost stacks, and when it is full, you will be frozen. You can also see the number of Touch of Frost stacks you have on your status bar. The maximum stack is 20. A blue notice pops up on your screen to alert you when you're at 10 stacks. You can cleanse Touch of Frost stacks by standing in the fire puddles, which are cast by the fire dragons you see hovering on the sides, or by blowing up gunpowder buckets placed in set positions. If you do get frozen, allies can break you out by hitting you with attacks. Harsh Weather is a rotating weather mechanic that occurs after an amount of time or when some other mechanics occur. There are 4 different weathers: clear, rain, snow, and blizzard. Whenever a weather change happens, a blue notice will pop up on your screen. The stacking speed of Touch of Frost differs by weather condition. For clear or rain weather, there is nothing special of note. However, under snow weather, you have to stay with at least one other player to prevent yourself from freezing regardless of Touch of Frost stacks. Under blizzard conditions, this is changed to 2. There are 2 phases to this fight. For phase 1, there are multiple mechanics to take note of. First mechanic of note is Ice Mark. This mechanic occurs for both phases. A red mark appears above 3 random players alongside a red circle. After 2 seconds, the red circle marks the area where the player is standing. This occurs 4 times. Ice meters fall on the marked area, damaging players standing in the circle. When you are marked with this, make sure to move away from your team to avoid damaging your team. This mechanic can happen regardless of the weather, so if it happens during snow or blizzard, stand close to the other marked players to avoid freezing. The ice meters can extinguish the fire puddle, so do not go near the fire puddles when you are marked with Ice Mark. The second mechanic is Fire Dragon Barrage. There are 2 fire dragons that hover on the left and right sides of the arena. Both fire dragons charge up before shooting a fire puddle each at 2 random areas on the map. This usually occurs the same time Ice Mark occurs. These fire puddles deal damage to you while you stand in them, but it also cleanses Touch of Frost stacks. You only need to stand on the edge of the fire puddle. Standing nearer to the middle causes you to take more damage. We will refer back to the fire puddles later in another mechanic. Another part of the Fire Dragon Barrage is the constant meteor strikes that occurs after a while if the fire dragons are not interrupted. These meteor strikes will keep striking every player, dealing damage. To interrupt these dragons, you need to fire the Drake cannons on the sides of the arena. There are 2 turrets positioned on both sides of the arena. Interact with them to fire at the fire dragons. You need to hit the fire dragon 3 times to interrupt them. However, once used, the turrets overheat. Additionally, these turrets can be frozen by another mechanic and cannot be used. If turrets are overheated, use Ice Mark or get Izcorgiky to attack it to cool them down. If turrets are in a frozen state, break the ice to make them operational again. The turrets can be frozen by Izcorgiky every once in a while. 1 turret is designated and a big red circle appears around the turret. After 5 seconds, Izcorgiky slams down, freezing the turret and dealing damage to all players in the circle. The further you are from the turret, the less damage you take. To completely avoid taking damage, just leave the red circle. However, shortly after this, another mechanic called Frostspin will happen. The whole arena is designated red. A red notice pops up to alert all players to enter a fire puddle to avoid getting rooted. After 5 seconds, Izcorgiky spins and roots everyone. If you're already standing in a fire puddle, you will not be rooted and can keep moving. Immediately after the spin, a red circle appears around Izcorgiky. This red circle is lethal when attempting the raid on gear score and will kill any non-tank player who is standing in it. After 3 seconds, Izcorgiky slams down to deal massive damage to anyone in the circle. Therefore, all damage dealers and supports are recommended to go to the fire puddles to avoid getting rooted and to not stand in the smaller circle after the spin. You can continue doing damage after this mechanic ends. Another mechanic is Frost Smash. This usually occurs after the freeze cannon explosion mechanic. A small circle and a down arrow appears in front of Izcorgiky. After 3 seconds, Izcorgiky slams down. If no player is present in the circle when Izcorgiky slaps down on it, a huge AoE attack will happen. Have the tank stand in the circle and use their damage mitigation skill to survive the hit. The last mechanic in Phase 1 is Hyper Beam. This mechanic can also happen in Phase 2. Izcorgiky charges up energy in its mouth and targets the aggroed player. A red line appears to indicate the area of effect. After 5 seconds, Izcorgiky fires a beam, dealing massive damage to anyone in its path. This mechanic is deadly if the aggroed player does not move the beam out of the way of the team. Use damage mitigation skills or dodge the beam when it is fired. That's all for the mechanics that occur in Phase 1. Once Izcorgiky is at 33% health, the transition phase starts. A cutscene plays and Izcorgiky flies away to the next arena. A path of ice split into 2 paths by an ice wall appears and connects to the next arena. The weather turns into blizzard condition. There are 2 paths, left and right. On normal mode, only the left path is open. On hard and nightmare mode, both paths will be open. If there are 2 paths, it is recommended to split the raid team into 2. For easier coordination, the left side of the party list, party 1 and 3, goes left. The right side of the party list, party 2 and 4, goes right. Make sure your supports on both sides to keep the team alive. After the cutscene, when you regain control of your character, make sure you do not leave anyone behind as the weather is in blizzard condition. Stick together as a group and split when you reach the entrance of the 2 paths. At this point, you will find that there are strong winds pushing you back constantly, making it hard for you to advance. The trick here is the bunny hop to avoid using stamina while advancing easily. What you want to do is to do single jumps. When you land on the ground, do a single jump while moving forward. Repeat this and you will not consume stamina while advancing forward. Ice tornadoes spawn in certain areas, moving back and forth. On nightmare mode, there will be more tornadoes, and in addition to that, ice explosions also periodically appear in a line and set positions. Getting hit by any of these stack Touch of Frost quickly, so avoid getting hit by them. Use Phantom Dash if necessary to quickly get past these obstacles. There are also gunpowder buckets placed in set positions. One is at the entrance to the paths, and there are 2 more on each path. You should break the one at the entrance, and for both paths, ignore the first gunpowder bucket and break the second one instead. At the end of each path, you will find an ice spear. Proceed into the second arena, you have to break the ice spear. Once both ice spears are broken, you can proceed into the second arena. Here, you will find Izcorgiky lying down, waiting for you while shielded by a dome. Before you go further, break the gunpowder bucket at the start to cleanse off Touch of Frost stacks before proceeding to fight Izcorgiky. You have 150 seconds to break this shield starting from when the transition phase started to prevent a team wipe. You can see the timer on the left side of your screen in the mission objectives list. 2 types of AoE attacks periodically occur around Izcorgiky. One is a regular red circle, which damages all players inside the circle after 3 seconds. Another one is a donut-shaped red circle with another brighter red circle inside. This only damages players standing in the outer ring of the circle after 3 seconds. All you need to do here is to avoid the AoE attacks and deal damage to Izcorgiky to break the shield. Once the shield is broken, the weather clears to rainy weather. There are 3 gunpowder buckets placed on the outer edges of the arena. These gunpowder buckets are special and are immune to all damage. However, you can remove the immune effect by hitting it with an ice mark. When Izcorgiky marks players with ice mark, have at least one player bring the ice mark over to a gunpowder bucket to remove the invulnerable effect. You can now break the bucket so the whole team can cleanse off Touch of Frost stacks. One crucial mechanic for Phase 2 is the 0° Snowfield. Izcorgiky targets 1 to 2 players and summons an ice pillar on top of them. 2 players are targeted in normal and hard mode. Only 1 player is targeted in nightmare mode. The ice pillar is a damage sharing mechanic, but you do not actually want to do this. This is because sharing damage of the ice pillar will link you to the pillar and continuously apply Touch of Frost stacks to you. Running out of the field breaks the link and deals damage to you. The simplest way to get through this is to have the targeted player dash away from Izcorgiky and use iframe or damage mitigation skills to survive the hit. Last mechanic to take note of is the Izcorgiky clone. Izcorgiky summons its clone to attack a target area. The clone flies up and a red line appears across the arena. After 8 seconds, the clone dashes through the line, dealing massive damage to any player standing in its path. An icy feel lingers after the dash, stacking Touch of Frost to players standing on it. Avoid this attack and also avoid standing in the icy field after. That is all for the raid. I will show a full run of the nightmare mode of this raid done without any voice comms. This raid becomes very easy once you understand the mechanics of the raid. Hopefully with this guide and the written guide on Maxroll, it will help all players clear this raid easily. See you next time. Bye bye!